But what I hear you saying is that actually the technology is going to enable in-house and external agency work more effectively and efficiently together, with everyone working as part of, one team in the one system using the one agents, and that, just reducing the need for rework because everyone's in this, has this orchestration layer. And we'll come to that orchestration layer now in a minute. It's just that it keeps coming up about orchestration, orchestration, and has come through all the points. Let's chat a little bit about orchestration, but first let's hear from our contributors.
And the one theme that we're really seeing reshaping marketing ecosystems is the rise of this concept of the bionic ecosystem, which is all about fusing together human talent and technology across the value chain. There's actually a term that we coined back in 2024, where we've seen lots of brands starting to look at how they can optimize the interplay between talent and technology. And you can see on the screen now a diagram that truly represents that. And this demonstrates where human capability has the biggest potential to drive the greatest value through creativity, originality, and engagement across brand strategy, briefs, origination, etc.
There's a lot of convergence as well, and I think that's going to be one of the big trends for 2026, is that convergence with the tools that we're already using. So your Adobes, your Figmas, all the kind of big players in this world, they're starting to incorporate different forms of AI and their own AI into these tools. So it's a question now of, do you stick to those tools and start to use the AI that's within those tools, and especially as they start to develop, or do you carry on using separate platforms? But where's the limit? Where do you draw the line? How many tools do you need to be able to utilize AI and automation in the right way? Because there's not really one tool that can do everything. So
when you ask us, what are the trends that we see for 26 coming up, I think obviously it's a strong establishment of clients actually be willing to spend money on intelligent workflows. And on purpose, we don't call it AI or agentic workflows, but actually intelligent workflows, because when you look at what an agent is doing, it's really something that brings in a clear process and the flow of steps across tools and across, AI tools or other tools. So even across your MarTech stack. And I think that's what clients are starting to understand as well, is that, with the agentic thinking, there's now actually a cross-system thinking across the MarTech stack. So that's something that we see as very positive, that it's not thought about in silos anymore, what the different MarTech tools are doing. So that you have a flow from, certain planning and budgeting activity through to content creation, through to reviews and approvals, adaptions, localization, customer journey and automation tools to send that out. All of those tools are now not probably in one flow, but in a few flows are going to be connected to each other.
I would say that the buzzword moved this year from creative operations to creative orchestration. Orchestration is what everybody is talking about. It's funny because creative operations felt like the new thing for the last couple of years, and we're really defining that area and that department and that expertise, and it has very quickly moved into orchestration. How do we make things work across lots of different partners, across different tech and tech stacks that businesses have, and all of it, figuring out how all of it kind of works together to be able to create really good outcomes for brands.
So John, we heard a lot about orchestration there. We heard it, and it's come up a lot through the conversation today and through the contributors even on this topic, before this topic. Tell us how you see orchestration. Is it a new buzzword? Is it something that's with us for 26? Is it a flash in the pan, or is it here to stay?
Yeah, I think orchestration is absolutely the key, but I would be on the same page as Rene, whereas orchestration is really just intelligent workflows and calling in the right tools and the right data at the right time to join a flow together so that your content production runs from cradle to grave. And orchestration, without it, you end up with siloed tools. You end up with solid processes and different processes running at different times and different lengths. So what orchestration really gives you, it really gives you the layer where you can run your business from. It gives you one cohesive place where you are bringing all of your various tools together, from your planning to your content generation to your Gen AI to your running your agents. And we have always called our software kind of an intelligent workflow for years anyway, because our workflow has always done that. Our workflow has always ran through the various stage gates, brought in data at the various times when it needed it, and it always orchestrated the process that kind of, like, if we needed to go to SAP to get something, it would go and get it, it would bring it on to the next person, they would do what they need to do, it would start the project, then the planning would start, and it would go run all the way through. And I think the term orchestration is great because I think it brings all of that kind of into a much more English way of understanding what it's trying to do. Because sometimes when you use the word workflow, a lot of people don't understand what you mean by the word workflow. But I think a lot of people will really kind of, like, you know, like, understand what orchestration means a lot better. But really it is just intelligent workflow. But having an orchestration layer, combining everything that you have in your system to make your flow work correctly, it's not just a future. You have to work that way, because if you don't, you're going to have lots of different tools in different places and piles of friction, and it's going to just slow you down. I mean, if you look at what a good orchestration layer will do, it will remove the friction between your team members, and it will allow them to immediately begin work when one piece of work stops, so you don't have that gap. But again, it's all how you implement it. You can implement that badly as well, you know. So it's like, so again, everything goes back to basics. What are you trying to achieve? What's your outcome? What's your workflow and process is supposed to do? And then you worry about how we're actually going to orchestrate it. Then you can have AI agents that kind of like review and do the governance of it before it moves step as well. So you're really getting your evals and quality in there. But I think you'll find with content production, orchestration is even more important, because we use so many tools to produce content, and you know, and
We're
to
buying
put them
tools in
all.
marketing.
Yeah, indeed, there's so many tools available to us. So I'll just give you one practical example that we had a client recently who came to us, and what they wanted to do was use an AI tool that basically had a model, that had a dress, and put the dress on the model, create a composite image and video, and put that on a workflow. So currently they were using 2 or 3 different tools to achieve that.
Yeah.
And with our workflow system, all they needed to do was hook us up to the DAM, choose the model, choose the dress, and it all just happens seamlessly. It goes off, it calls the other agents that they were using previously, but brings it all into the same place. So they can view, edit, change, review everything in the one place, and it happens seamlessly. So 1 or 2 people don't now have to go to a different website to create that picture, to create that image, to create the video. It all happens in one place. And that's what orchestration means in practical terms. That you are putting various tasks that you were doing manually and then collating it together through an automated orchestration engine, which will take your data, push it out to where it needs to go, get the input back in, and move it forward. So I think a lot of people talk about orchestration, and they don't really have really good examples to judge it against. So I think it's very important that people kind of really understand what orchestration can do and what it means.
I know that's really insightful, because it shows kind of, I suppose, the agent having that one job that you said, you know, a single purpose agent, that we know what that agent needs to do, and then it working within a workflow to kind of push it and you know, seamlessly work to drive work forward, and no one wants to sit there putting clothes on, you know, compositing these models.
Exactly. And if you break that example down, right, it's a really good example of what you asked me previously, is how do people start? Okay. So
Yeah.
obviously, right, what do they need to basically start that process? Okay. So they need to know where the DEM is with their models. They need to know where the DEM is for their various clothes. Okay. Then they have to have their agent, which actually does that work. It puts that on that. Then they have to have the other agent, which creates the video, perhaps. Okay. Now we're designing the workflow that's going to integrate those two. But now let's think about what happens after that. Who does that go to approve? And then what happens after that? What's the outcome of putting the dress on the model? Is it to create an ad? Is it to create a banner? And so now you can see the value of starting from the basics, finding out what my workflow needs to be, make it intelligent, finding out what data I need, where the data is, and now we can design the workflow, the agents, and the orchestration layer to call all those bits when it needs to be called and move it on, and we get the desired outcome.
And Screendragon will help organizations do
Yes.
that, won't they, John?
That's exactly what we actually do. And we have a department here called the AI Foundry. And what the AI Foundry does is if you have a problem, something like that you want to basically have some kind of an AI agent that will take a dress, take a model, put the model on the dress, move it, move it onto a workflow. We will investigate and find the best models for you to actually use, the most cost-effective way of doing it. And we will put all of that together for you. We'll design your process, your flow, we'll design your agents. We'll even use agents that you have, and we'll actually plug them in. And you get a very cohesive, intelligent workflow that gives you the outcome that you desire, rather than having all of these different various tools in different places and silos that are not connected, and a lot of friction in between.
And you've mentioned this friction, and it's how we remove it, to your point, and how we build that layer and that level of orchestration.